Imagine being a member of one of the most famous rock bands in the world. Now imagine that your name is Frank Beard. There is nothing unusual about the name until you realize that Frank Beard was the only member of ZZ Top usually didn't have a beard. While Billy Gibbons and Dusty Hill become famous for their enormous beards, Frank Beard stood behind the drums, clean shaven, providing the powerful rhythm that helped define the band's sound. But who was Frank Beard and why he is so important to ZZ Top? Let's take a look at his story. Frank Beard was born on June 11, 1949 in Frankstown, Texas. He grew up during a period when rock and roll, blues, rhythm and blues, and other popular music styles were becoming increasingly influential. Like many musicians of his generation, Beard developed an interest in music and eventually became a professional drummer. Becoming ZZ Top, he gained experience by performing with different musicians and groups. This early experience helped him develop the timing, rhythm, and stage skills that would later become an important part of his career. Texas also played an important role in his musical development. The state had a strong tradition of blues, country, rock and roll, and other musical styles. These influences would eventually become part of the unique sound of ZZ Top. The birth of ZZ Top. Frank Beard's career changed dramatically when he became part of ZZ Top. The classic ZZ Top lineup consisted of three musicians: Billy Gibbons on guitar and vocals, Dusty Hill on bass and vocals, and Frank Beard on drums. Together, they created a distinctive combination of blues, rock, boogie, humor, and Texas culture. Although the band was built around only three musicians, their sound was enormous. Billy Gibbons provided powerful guitar riffs. Dusty Hill created the bass foundation, and Frank Beard supplied the rhythm that held everything together, the roll and rock. Hall of Fame later recognized ZZ Top as one of the important bands in rock history and inducted them in 2004. The great irony of his name. One of the funniest stories about Frank Beard is obviously his name. His name is Beard, but he was clean-shaven member of ZZ Top. Meanwhile, Billy Gibbons and Dusty Hill had extremely long beards. This created one of the most amusing situations in rock music. The man named Beard didn't have the beard. The other two members did. But behind this joke was a serious musician. Frank Beard wasn't simply part of the band's visual image. He was an essential part of its music. Frank Beard's drumming style. When we listen to ZZ Top, the guitar riffs often get most of the attention, but listen carefully to the drums. Frank Beard's playing is a major reason why the band's music has such a strong groove. His style is generally focused on rhythm, timing, and feel rather than unnecessary complexity. That was perfect for ZZ Top. The band's music often depends upon powerful blue rock grooves. The drums work together with Dusty Hill's bass to create a strong foundation. That foundation allowed Billy Gibbons to play his famous guitar riffs over the top. In the three-membered band, every musician has a major responsibility. There is nowhere to hide. If one instrument disappears, the entire sound changes. Frank Beard understood this perfectly. The rise of ZZ Top. During the 1970s, ZZ Top developed a strong reputation. The band released successful albums and became particularly known for his blue rock sound. One of the best known early songs was Lagrange. The song demonstrated the band's ability to create a powerful sound from a simple combination of guitar, bass, and drums. Another important song was Tush, which became one of their classic tracks. As the decade progressed, ZZ Top became increasingly popular. Their live performance also helped establish their reputation. The band developed a distinctive responsibility, part blues rock musician, part Texas characters, and part comedians. The 1980s worldwide fame. The 1980s completely changed the band's career. Music, television, especially MTV, gave ZZ Top a new way to reach audience. The band understood how powerful music videos could be. Their videos combined music with humor, cars, attractive women, exaggerated characters, and the band's unforgettable appearance. Songs such as Gimme All Your Lovin', Short Dressed Man, and Lax become international hits. Millions of people around the world suddenly knew ZZ Top, and their appearance became just as recognizable as their music. Two musicians with enormous beards and clean shaven drummer named Beard, it was an image people could never forget. Why Frank Beard was important. It is easy to focus on Billy Gibbons and Dusty Hill because their appearance was so distinctive. But ZZ Top was a three-person musical unit. Frank Beard's contribution was essential. The drums created the band's movement. His playing gave the guitar riffs their power. His timing worked with the bass to create the heavy groove associated with ZZ Top. And because the band was a trio, Beard had to be extremely consistent. He wasn't simply keeping time, he was helping create the band's musical identity. This is an important lesson about drummers. The drummer may stand at the back of the stage, but the rhythm can be at the center of the entire performance. A remarkable career. One of the most impressive things about ZZ Top was its longevity. The classic trio remained together for decades. Frank Beard was part of the journey from the band's early years through its international success. The group experienced changes in the music industry, changes in technology, and changes in popular culture. But ZZ Top maintained its distinctive identity. The combination of blues, rock, humor, Texas culture, and visual style remained recognizable. Frank Beard remained behind the drums throughout the journey. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. In 2004, ZZ Top was inducted into Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Billy Gibbons and Dusty Hill and Frank Beard were recognized as members of the legendary group. The induction was an important moment in the band's history. They demonstrated that ZZ Top had become much more than the successful rock band. They had become part of American rock music history. They are influenced not only from their hit songs but also their unique identity and their ability to remain relevant for decades. Frank Beard's legacy. Frank Beard's legacy is inseparable from ZZ Top. When people hear songs like Luggage, dish, shop, dress man, or give me all you are loving. They are hearing the contributions of drummer who helped create the band's unmistakable groove. But perhaps the most memorable part of his story will always be the irony of his name. Frank Beard was the man called Beard who didn't need a beard to become famous. His two bandmates had the famous facial hair, Frank had the drums, and together the three created one of the most recognizable bands in rock music. Frank Beard's story is more than a funny coincidence, as his name made him the perfect subject for one of rock music's greatest jokes, but behind the joke was a talented and experienced musician. He helped provide the rhythm behind ZZ Top's blue rock sound. He performed the band for decades. He helped create music that reached audience around the world. And he became part of a band whose image and sound remain instantly recognizable. So the next time you see ZZ Top, don't just look at the two enormous beards, look at the man behind the drums. Frank Beard, the drummer whose name became a joke but whose music became a legacy.